Hi, welcome back everybody. It's a pleasure again to be here and to be on this occasion joined by Wayne Poole with an E. And my apologies for having that wrong on the on the image there, Wayne. Wayne is part of Habitat Noosa. Now, I mean, one of the great things about doing these interviews is not only the fact that I get to talk to people I've not met before, but also I get to learn about places that I didn't know existed before as well. And Habitat Noosa is just one of those places that sounds incredible. Wayne, tell me about your connection to this area and a little bit about what Habitat Noosa is.
Yeah, Habitat Noosa is an amazing new location. Officially, we're so pleased to be Australia's best new tourism business. And it took years of planning, but the owner of Habitat Noosa has been running and operating the Everglades Eco Safaris for 2 decades. And they're well known to all the Ecotourism Australia family, recently recognised in their Hall of Fame. But I've met the owner, decades ago, and was friends with him and was on the journey with him while he had this desire to build a very much an eco destination for his tours to take people up the Everglades. He wanted to build a sort of an eco tourism precinct. Years in the planning, but it opened in July 2018, and we've welcomed over 90,000 guests in our first 12 months.
And so you call it the Everglades. So people have heard of the Florida Everglades. Describe to me why it's called the Everglades, and just give us your in your own words a description of the sort of panorama that people can expect.
Yeah, Everglades is a very unique word. In fact, truthfully, it's actually not in the dictionary. So there's a lot of interpretation of what an Everglades is. Our skipper, our most senior skipper who owned the business 40 years ago, who wanted to keep driving up the Everglades when he sold it to us, he wanted to still go there every day, but he describes it, basically it's a river system that goes right up and it's totally surrounded by national parks. So there is basically trees everywhere, and it's those trees and their root systems that obviously feed into that river that gives it that tannin texture, that sort of dark coloration, which we give a consumer phrase of the river of mirrors because it adds that reflection to it as you're paddling through there. But the Everglades, as you can see on your screen now, very unique water system, but beautifully surrounded by those trees. And the trees are something that are attracted to the birds. So the Everglades in itself, whilst a natural phenomenon, actually we have a huge percentage, 44% of Australia's bird species living in these beautiful trees. And we take people up there every day. So over the last couple of decades, we've actually acquired all the other permits that were operational to go up there. We are the sole vessel operator to take people up there. So we offer an exclusive vessel journey with the most experienced people on the planet to take them to what is one of only a handful of Everglades on the planet. This one doesn't have alligators like the one you mentioned in Florida. Jump in the water and have a paddle, have a swim with ease, and not have to worry about alligators chomping at your toes.
The gentleman you referred to a moment ago who ran the boat business, you want to give us his name, and you mentioned, so he's been 40 years in the area. Was he responsible for naming the Everglades as well?
The naming of the Everglades is quite unique. Obviously, for us, again, not a name that's used in the dictionary. Trevor's been taking people up there for a while, and based on, I suppose, some of the more experienced environmental experts, they've given it the reference of the Everglades because it does follow those very broad parameters of what an Everglades system is. Trevor's our lead skipper. He's been going up there for 40 years. Now, he sold the business to our owner today, the managing director, Wade Batty, who's been operating up there for 2 decades. And he just appreciated, having travelled the world like a lot of us have, he just appreciated how beautiful, pristine, and how abundant with Australian wildlife this location was. And he wanted to make it easier and more convenient for international and domestic guests to make the connection to the Everglades. So he invested millions of dollars into Habitat Noosa, which is a 65-acre ecotourism precinct 25 minutes from Noosa. And we've installed a range of luxury glamping tents, basic glamping tents, wilderness cabins, and we've also put in a restaurant, bar, bistro, and more importantly, a microbrewery.
Of course. What place would be complete without it? You mentioned, okay, so you mentioned a moment ago it's proximity. And look, I think what's really exciting about, as I said to me earlier on about this, is that I'd not heard of this place before. And there are all these places in Australia that are quintessentially recognizable in the sense of an everglade or whatever, but we just scraping the surface of what people can experience. But you yourself told me, now you live not far from Australia Zoo, and you cut your teeth with the Irwins, and that's where you've got some of your fascination for wildlife. But I asked you yesterday, I'll ask you again, where this sits within your experiences worldwide, so your travel experience and a moment that where it sort of all came together. Can you describe to me the significance of this place for you?
Yeah, as you said, I luckily enough worked for Australia Zoo and the Irwin family for 10 years. Prior to that, I'd worked for other tourist attractions, both internationally and domestically, and a lot of them had wildlife, and the conservation side of those businesses was something that was personally very important to me. Obviously, conservation is a very important part of today's society and sustainability. And during my time with Australia Zoo, I was travelling the planet, promoting an amazing zoological facility on the Sunshine Coast. During that time, I travelled with numerous other Queensland and Australian businesses, but one of the ones was on the Sunshine Coast here, Wade Batty, the owner of the Everglades Safaris. I was travelling with him, New Zealand, North America, Europe, you name it. And he was always trying to invite me to come on down to experience his product. And I was too busy travelling, but I freed up one weekend. There was an event on to go along to. I paddled up that, what we call today, the River of Mirrors, and I still to this day remember just the majestic nature of the bird life, the sounds. You know, you're paddling up this pristine river, and you stop paddling, you can hear the water dripping off your paddle, and the abundance of birds, as I think you said in your information, it sounded like an orchestra of birds, and it was just one of those most surreal moments. And as I said, I've done the Great Wall of China, I've done Taj Mahals, I've done Grand Canyons, you name the major tourist attraction on the planet, I've been there. Yet the Everglades, the paddling experience up the Everglades is still one of the top 5 things I've done in my many years in tourism. So when the owner explained to me and invited me up to have a look at Habitat Noosa, which gives you the ability to get up the Everglades quicker, easier, and more conveniently, and you can do it in luxury if you want to stay on site in a glamping tent. But when I went up there and saw the plans and the development of Habitat Noosa, and I was blown away. So for me, it's a privilege to be able to drive up there every day and spend quality time in a beautiful location, and welcome people from, well, prior to COVID, obviously we were welcoming people from every part of the world who were coming to Australia, believe it or not, and wanting to do that Everglades experience.
Well, hopefully people get a chance to do it again, and I think one of the things you referred to a moment ago was also the sustainability aspect. You've got you said all your water treatment on site so all your water is sourced on site and treated on site, which is obviously really important. 83% of your power needs at the moment, but you've got a bit of a challenge, haven't you, in terms of visitor numbers, and how are you dealing with that?
Yeah, look, and in our first year of operation, there was no exact science to exactly how many people we're going to get, because our business not only gets accommodation, but we also get day visitors. So people can come to Habitat Noosa and hire a canoe or a stand-up paddleboard and paddle around on pristine Lake Catharaba. So it was very challenging to try and exact science know how many people were coming there. So we put in enough solar panels for what we expected. The anticipation was we would welcome possibly 60 to 70,000 guests, which was 3 to 4 times the prior. The venue itself was an old school camp when we took over it, and they used to welcome less than 20,000 guests. And then when we took over and spent the millions of dollars putting in all the new infrastructure, the first year we weren't quite sure, but when we got the 90,000 guests in the first year, we appreciated that was a great number, but unfortunately it had lowered our capacity to be 100% sustainable with the solar panels we put in. So for us, we have got future plans to try and be 100% sustainable across all the fathoms. We're working with people like Plastic Free Noosa and a whole range of other people to make sure that we're being as sustainable and environmentally friendly as we can. Being an eco tourism precinct, we absolutely working with a lot of people to make sure that we're up with the latest technologies to make sure that we can, if you like, set the bar when it comes to ecotourism.
Well, it's an amazing thing you're doing. Yet again, I'm in awe of the quality of and work that goes into designing and the passion behind some of the products that we get to talk about on this program. Wayne, thanks for joining us. It goes without saying that anybody who happens to be listening at any point jump online. So Habitat Noosa, you can find you guys online on the web and on Facebook, of course. Very easy visit. I suppose you drive south from Brisbane or a drive north from New
It's
South
25
Wales.
minutes north of Noosa and about an hour and 15 minutes from Australia Zoo, or just over 2 hours from Brisbane.
Great, excellent, and that's a commute daily for you. So, and a chance to meet people like Trevor if people want to go out on a boat cruise. Thanks again. Pleasure to talk, and good luck with it all. And hopefully we can hear more from you soon.
Pleasure. Thank you very much, Simon.
Cheers, Wayne. Bye.